Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Very glad to have you here. Before we begin, I just wanted to say thank you so much for 100 subscribers. This has been quite the journey. I'm hoping to post more consistently here so that number can grow, but I'm grateful for each and every one of you. Yeah, so today I'm going to, as promised in the last video, explain or go through what my first time rendering skin was. But then as I was coming to make this video and plan it out and everything, I actually happened to do another piece of sorts where I rendered 3 eyes. It was like an old Instagram trend in 2021, but I wasn't drawing in 2021. I didn't even like art at the time, and so I didn't know what the trend was, but I found it the other day and decided to take a look at it. And I feel like it also better explains what my rendering process is. So I don't know how I'm going to edit this to make my explanation easier, but I hope that I find a way. So I'm just gonna talk, and then whatever will be happening on the screen will be happening. Yeah, so the first part I'm just going to talk about how it was rendering skin for the first time, the challenges that I faced, and the things that I learned as well, and how I plan to apply those in my future pieces. I'm also going to talk about sort of a workflow that I've built for myself, and also the brushes that I use to be able to achieve this. Yeah, so that's basically what we're going to talk about. So I hope that you enjoy. Be sure to like, subscribe. I have checked today and found that close to almost like 96% of the people who watch the videos haven't subscribed. So I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe, and then also comment any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, and also any challenges that you guys would like me to do, because my videos can only go so far in regards to information. I can only share experience. I don't think I'm experienced enough to be able to teach anything, so I want fun stuff to do. So I look forward to hearing from you, even if it's just any random comment. It doesn't have to be suggestion specific. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My experience when it comes to this: number one, sketching. Sketching was relatively okay, I feel, once you get the form and the structure of the character that you're trying to paint. I feel like the rest falls in pretty easily, because you have an idea of what you're sketching basically, and so building that was relatively difficult, because I'm still getting used to Procreate as a whole. And I must mention, this rendering tutorial that I did was from Sam Does Arts, one of my favorite artists in the whole world, and I was just following his rendering tutorial on Patreon on just the basics of rendering, and I feel like it gave me so much information. I was so proud of the results I was able to come up with in such a short time. And I mean, in total it took around five or so, like 6 hours sort of, combined, spread out over a span of 2 days to be able to complete it. So first was sketching. Sketching was it was simpler than the rendering part. I'd say that it took the shortest time, around 5 minutes of sketching. I don't really spend too much time on sketching, because eventually you're just gonna lay on colors on top of that. Yeah, and then there was the base color part. The base color is just the local color on the skin that's there without being affected by light or shadow. As you can see on the screen here, choose a base color, and then after that is the base for the shadows. Is basically just taking the exact same color for your base color, and then shifting the value or the brightness thereof, shifting the brightness and the hue slightly if you want to, depending on whether the shadow color is being affected by any light in the environment. And then after that you lay down the shadows, and then you blend the soft edges on the skin, keeping very close attention to how your reference looks like, which is very important. Your reference matters because hard and soft edges are defined by what your reference looks like, unless you're drawing from imagination. And even if you are drawing from imagination, the amount of light, type of light, intensity of light will affect how hard or soft your shadows are. Then after that, it's basically now adding the lighter part, so like the highlights, adding glow to the skin. If your character is outside, making sure they look like they fit within the environment they are in. And then there's again lots and lots of blending of hard and soft edges, which is basically sculpting the character to life. And then now adding slightly darker shadows where they apply, and any extra highlights necessary for the character that you are drawing, or for the person that you're drawing. So I didn't realize at first how difficult it was. Difficult and simple. I mean, it's difficult in terms of the amount of time it takes, but it's simple in regards to those steps apply anywhere. If I was to paint an arm, for example, I'd start with the base color, then find the shadows, then find the highlights, then refine the shadows and highlights, and then stuff like that. It's the exact same. The process is simple. It's just the time and application that's complicated. So before I go into now my own personal studies outside of the tutorial, I want to talk about some of the brushes and tools that I have utilized heavily to be able to, give my art, I feel, a bit of ease, because not having pressure sensitivity really, really hurts especially when you're rendering skin or trying to do anything regarding realism, or even just from the sketching point of view. I'm really used to having good line quality in my sketches, and not being able to achieve that really, really sucks. But you do with what you have. So in terms of brushes and tools, for the main brushes that I use are the 6B sketch brush, but my own. I customized 6B, the Procreate default 6B pencil, and made it my own. I removed the tilt and decreased the grain. I think those are the main things that I did, and then just set my own default opacity and sizes so that the pressure sensitivity doesn't hit as hard. Also using Samyang's Procreate round brush to I think that's the main now actual painting tool, and then also his blending brush that come with his brush pack. Those I think are the three that I use the most. Yeah, I think those are the three that I use the most. And then airbrush where necessary, but not as much unless completely necessary. So it's just bouncing between those three brushes. And then the eraser is pretty standard, either a round brush or hard eraser brush. Those are the ones that I'm using. So those are the brushes that I use for anything that I'm doing currently. I don't know about the future, but currently that's what I'm using. And these, what would be probably showing right now, is the final result of my first time rendering. So now to my own personal studies. So again, I found this challenge on Instagram that had started in 2021. It was like an eye meme thing where there's like a very super minimalist design of an eye, and then you make your own version on the side. I had started doing one, and then I erased, and then I started again now with more focus and intensity and attention to detail in regards to that, still using the exact same brushes. And again, same process, sketch, but then for the eye it's different, now using a YouTube tutorial also from Sam Does Arts. It's a 10-minute tutorial, but it has so much information. It was shocking to me when I tried it the first time last week, and I just used the same process but then mixed it with everything that I had learned from the skin rendering thing. And the second and the third eye were my favorite ones. So again, sketch first, and then base color. Sketch first, and then now the base color for the inside of the eye, and then the base color for the iris, and then a darker color for the pupil, and that's basically like a good starting point. And then also take the base color for the iris, take a lighter color around the same area of color, and then use it for like a good gradient highlight on the iris, depending on maybe the reference you're using or your stylistic choice. And then after that, for me personally, in this regard, that's when I started now doing the shadows and refining the eye, because the eye could just sit on a white canvas, or it could have some form around it. So I put a base color behind the eye, and then now start doing everything together. And for I think it was the second or third eye, I'm not sure which one specifically. I think the second eye, I actually did 90% of it on the same layer, because I wanted to utilize colors blending with one another. And I used mostly, there's only like 3 non-grayscale colors in that specific eye. There's yellow, blue, and red, or greenish yellow, blue, and red. Everything else is just on the value scale from black to white. It's just bouncing around there. I had started with color, but then I decided otherwise, and yeah, it turned out amazing. I was so shocked with the result that I got out of that. And yeah, and then now for the third eye, I was using Jinx from Arcane as a reference for it, and I was blown away by how much you can learn by application. And now, before I talk about the personal lessons that I learned from this, I just want to talk about some habits that I've implemented for myself to make my digital journey much more bearable. So there's using references, which is very obvious. Then there's zooming out, which is a big thing. Zooming out just makes you not focus too much on the detail. I realized, especially when I was painting the eyes, which was actually today morning, when I was painting the eyes, I realized that I zoomed in so much, and you just zoom out and like, oh, the detail that I just spent 6 minutes on is now, you can't even see it from this far. And most people are going to be looking at it on the phone or on a computer, so they're not even going to be able to see that far unless they're intentionally zooming in for God knows what reason. And then there's also not over blending. Just know what needs to be blended. Don't blend everything together. Some edges remain sharp, some remain smooth. Put that contrast. At the end of every soft edge is a hard edge, and vice versa, depending on, again, the subject that you are painting. Then taking breaks, which is something that I nearly forgot to do. Taking breaks is extremely, extremely important, and just stretching your hands and your wrists especially. And then there's also drawing with my shoulder. And one thing that helped me with doing so is the positioning of the iPad itself. The position of the iPad really, really mattered. I was drawing with it when I started last week. I was drawing with it completely flat on the table like this, completely flat. And then now when painting this, while painting it, and as you can see, while painting these, I decided to prop it up at around an angle like this, something like that, and then sit close enough that I can reach the tablet, but then far enough that I'm able to utilize the full movement of my shoulder. I watched a video by Aaron Blaze, one of my favorite animators and mentors online, and he was just talking about, in fact, it came so conveniently, just like 2-3 days ago is when he released that video on why drawing from your shoulder matters. Unfortunately, I can't draw big, which is one of the tips that he mentions. He's just drawing large. I can't do that right now because this iPad is 10.5 inches. It's not really that big, but I understand what he meant. Just trying to utilize the full movement of your shoulder makes you be able to draw longer. So what have I learned from this experience? I'd say don't be too hard on yourself. Be patient. You're on a journey, progressing. This is just the beginning. This is me speaking to myself. This is just the beginning. Be patient. Have fun. Experiment. Don't be scared to try things. There's always an undo button. There's always an eraser. Nothing is permanent. And I think overall, just giving yourself grace to be able to be a learner, and a learner forever. Being able to just calm down and relax, and say, I'm enjoying this, and regardless of how long it's going to take, I will succeed in doing so. Because if you try to determine the end when you're at the beginning, I don't even think you'll start. Like for me, like for example, with the third eye, which ended up being better than I thought. When I was doing the sketch, I was wondering, what is this? What is it that I'm doing right now? Will it even turn out well? Well, the reference is this. I started making excuses, and that's not good. And so those are the lessons that I've learned from this experience, and I hope to learn more as I go. I still have so many more skills to learn, not just in digital art, but in art in general. Things like anatomy, gesture, character design, animation, and the things that I want to pursue in the future. And I'm really hoping that you'll be able to join me for that journey. So thank you to everyone who watched this video. I truly appreciate all the support. Be sure to comment your thoughts, questions, or suggestions about anything and everything. If you enjoy listening to podcasts or reading newsletters, I have both a podcast and a newsletter called the Yodaverse. Links will be in the description below. Be sure to follow me on Instagram if you want to catch up with my art directly, and also feel free to reach out anytime on Instagram as well. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.